name's Jacob Ayler, an attorney at the Law Office of Riley and Naylor PC. I'm trying to use this time during this COVID-19 outbreak to reach out to people to just provide content as to how the law is changing, specifically in areas of family law, with things like child support, custody, visitation, those sorts of things, while we are living in this COVID-19 quarantine lockdown. I know myself and many of my colleagues are being flooded with phone calls with very reoccurring, very similar questions about things because, quite frankly, they don't teach you in law school or the bar exam how to deal with changes to family law when you have a pandemic like this. And so we do have new court orders from the Supreme Court and the governor's office that have really changed the norms of how family custody, child support, those sorts of things are going to be handled. One call that I'm getting continuously is the issue of both visitation and child support while this COVID-19 crisis is going on. So I'm going to address both of those. I'll talk about custody and visitation stuff right now first. As I mentioned in an earlier video, our governor's office in the state of Indiana has issued an executive order that permits travel between parents for purposes of exchanging parenting time. It is important that everyone understand your duty to let the other parent have parenting time, or in your case, maybe to receive parenting time, is still in full force and effect. I get calls every day about this, and you have every right to expect to have visitation, and you need to give visitation if you are the custodial parent during this outbreak. I did have one client that called and said, look, the mother in this particular matter was supposed to have visitation, but her husband had been tested positive for COVID-19. Now, there may be some lawyers that disagree with me, but I'm going to tell you this much. If you're in a situation where a parent or somebody in that household is testing positive for COVID-19, you have a responsibility to protect your child and not expose them in that situation. And so if the other parent gets an attorney and files a contempt petition for you from withholding visitation, and if your defense to that is that the other parent or somebody in that household has COVID-19, my feeling is that a court is not going to find you in contempt and is going to find that it's an extra, that's a special set of circumstances. Again, there may be attorneys that disagree with me, but my feeling would be in that situation, you're fine to withhold visitation. Having said that, that does not mean that you can cook up something and say, well, somebody had a cough, so they may have had. You would need to have some evidence that this is in fact the case. If the other parent tells you that somebody in their household is COVID-19 positive, but you can't just make things up, because if you do that, you are going to be in trouble for withholding visitation. Another thing that's important is that another question I'm getting a lot from clients is, well, my kids are out of school, and so the other parent believes that they should get extra parenting time while this period is going on. I'm always going to say, if you can work out an arrangement with the other parent, that's what you need to do. It's what's best for justice. It's what's best for the children, if you can work that out. If you can't, the Supreme Court has said in its order, and I'm referring to the order here, this past week on March 31st, that the court is adopting the school calendar for that your child is enrolled in. And so although your child may be at home doing e-learning or something like that, we're still going by the school calendar for purposes of visitation. So if you're in a situation where the other parent gets visits on, a Wednesday and every other weekend, well, that's still going to be the same case here. If you want to give more visitation, you guys certainly can do that. But as far as that issue, you're treating it as if the kids are still in school. I'm going to now switch gears here to the child support issues that are ongoing. There's a lot of discussion in the news right now about the duty to pay, certain bills. We're hearing about, the tax deadline has been moved out into July. Foreclosures, evictions, those sorts of things have been temporarily stayed. But one thing that is still intact, and the Supreme Court of Indiana just reaffirmed this past week in its order, is that your duty to pay child support is still in effect. And even though many child support offices are going to be closed or have reduced hours, you still have to find a way to either go online and get that payment done. If you have a wage withholding order, then that should make it pretty easy. As an attorney, I hate it when I have clients that make payments through unconventional means, like just writing a check or something like that. If it comes down to it, I've been telling my clients, make every effort to pay that bill through the clerk's office, through the child support office, so that there's a clear record of it. If for whatever reason you can't make that happen, then at least get a check or something that you can verify. I get cases all the time where people come in and say that they paid money in cash, and then it becomes your word versus their word, and it's a mess. So do everything you can to make those payments either online or through the clerk's office, even if there are reduced hours. One thing that many people are experiencing, though, is we're in a time where unemployment is rising steadily. A lot of people are either out of work or have reduced work. And if you've lost your job, then you can petition the court to have your child support reduced. The law in Indiana is, you're supposed to wait that 1 year period, but if you have had a substantial decrease in your income, you can move to modify and your child support order. And the Indiana Supreme Court has said as much that in its order this past week, that if you have experienced a job loss or a substantial cut in hours due to this outbreak, you can file a motion with the court asking for an emergency modification of your child support. Because if you're out of work and you're not paying child support, in addition to contempt issues that you might be experiencing, that arrearage is going to continue to grow. And so when you do get back to work, and when this outbreak is over, you're going to have a large child support backlog that you're going to be responsible to pay. So if you find yourself in that position, find an attorney, contact someone to get that taken care of so that it doesn't continue to grow. I'm going to continue to keep updating people on these developments as we move forward. If you have any questions, please give my office a call. The phone number is 219-866-3435. I hope everybody's staying safe. I'm like you. I hope that this is going to be a short-lived thing, but in case it's not, it's important that we all figure out how to exist until we get back to how things used to be. Until next time, I'm Jacob Ayler of the law firm of Riley & Ayler, PC.